Hey everyone, this is Scott from the Forgot to Grow podcast. Welcome to another edition of ReWatching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Today I'm going to be talking about Season 3, Episode 12, The Inside Man. I'm just going to start off with the plot summary for this episode, then just talking about my general thoughts about this episode, along with some foreshadowing Easter egg elements that I may have noticed. So let's just start with that plot summary, which says Talbot and Coulson meet with delegates from several countries to discuss Inhumans, accompanied by Kyle Creel, a human who survived Terrigenesis thanks to Hydra experimentation and whose blood Simmons believes could be used to cure Inhumans who had not yet transitioned. Coulson suspects that one of the delegates is an inside man for Malik and sends Hunter, Bobby, and May to find out who it is. Hunter, seeing Creel acting suspiciously, discovers Talbot's son in ATCU stasis. They also discover that the Australian government has a captured Inhuman for experimentation. Talbot turns on Coulson when Malik arrives, the latter convincing the delegates that Coulson is Hydra and that they should carry out their plans, the building of an Inhuman sanctuary, with Malik instead. May saves Talbot's son, allowing him to leave with Coulson without fear for his family. Hunter and Bobby follow Malik to Russia, and Hive restores Ward's corpse to full strength by sacrificing several humans. So that's the plot summary for this episode. Not a whole lot goes down. This one was a lot around Talbot, obviously. Them trying to find this inside man who ended up being Talbot. But yeah, this was a lot about that relationship between those two. I felt like this episode was a lot of building stuff because not a lot really went down in the episode itself, but a lot of little things got placed to build up to eventually, the beginning of, Hive restoring himself to full power via sacrificing humans. We see Talbot and Coulson starting to work together a little bit. We see Malik's plan to try and turn the world against Coulson and convince the world that he's Hydra. So we get these little things like that. But other than that, not a lot actually happened in the episode itself to really talk about. We got Creel back again. He's a cool kind of reoccurring character who I like that they kind of given him actually an arc. He kind of started off with this kind of one-off, or kind of not one-off, but like this reoccurring villain henchman guy, and now they're developing him with a little bit of an arc, and throughout the series he does kind of end up having a whole character arc. So I like that we kind of get him back. This but kind of the middle part of his arc where he's starting to trying to prove himself and redeem himself for some of the stuff that happened when he was under Hydra's control. So that was a cool part. Like I said, we also got Talbot in this episode, a heavy part of him. I really enjoy his character, as I've said in a bunch of videos. Anytime he's popped up, I really enjoy him. I forgot in this episode that he was the inside man up until about halfway through. Then I was like, oh yes, it's Talbot and it's his son. It's the whole thing. I didn't remember at first though. When I started this episode, I forgot, but it makes sense because it's only in the space of this episode that he's working for Malik, so it doesn't really last that long. But yeah, and then other than that, not too much really to talk about for this episode. The other thing I had written down for this episode is there was a mention of the Watchdogs, which I think is a really cool little drop in because we get a little bit more of them throughout. I believe it's not till next season that we start to get them, or throughout the rest of this season we start to get a little bit more of the Watchdogs. But that's an interesting little Easter egg they dropped in there, a little foreshadowing. But yeah, that's all I pretty much had for this episode. Like I said, it was a lot of kind of building on things. But yeah, be sure to let me know in the comments below if I did miss anything or if there's anything in particular you liked about this episode. Be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for joining me today and have a good one.